Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 13 prediction episode. But before we jump into those games, just a quick update on our head-to-head pick'em game. We both had pretty decent weeks last week, but I picked up 3 points more than Callan. I got 11, he only got 8, which puts us at a total of me with 114 and Callan with 111. So still a very close game, but I was able to regain the lead after Callan tying it up last week. So pretty proud of myself.
Yep, you got a field goal on me, so I'll be able to hold you to a field goal.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Just like a normal NFL game, 114 to 111.
I swear we don't do these on purpose for these to be in like football as increments, but
it never fails.
How it
really
goes.
doesn't. So now we will jump straight into this week of games. Let me not have a stroke there, and we'll see if maybe that score changes next week, which hopefully it does. Starting off with the Thursday night football game with the Buffalo Bills heading to New England to take on the Patriots. And Cal and I start off this episode agreeing we both have the Bills in this one. It was a tough choice. It definitely got me. But, assuming that there's not going to be a foot of snow and the Patriots aren't going to run the ball 50, 60 times this game, I think that the Bills still have too much firepower for the Patriots to take. That defense is still very good, but got exposed by a Vikings offense last week. So I got to imagine that the Bills are going to do a very similar thing to them, probably put up 400 or 500 offensive yards of their own. I just don't think that the Patriots offense can keep up with that many yards. So I see the Bills picking up a win.
I think the weather here will be a big factor, and it is supposed to be snowy again in Buffalo. So it'll be interesting
New
to
England.
see.
It's in New England.
Oh, it is in New England, but there's supposed to be snow, I heard.
Yeah.
My bad. But I think that New England definitely could do their thing where they run the ball 500 times. For 500 yards and let Mac Jones throw it twice. They are known to do that, but I just don't think that that'll happen this time. I think that was quite an anomaly when that happened. And I don't think that Josh Allen will allow that to happen, and the Bills will win this one.
Yep, 3 attempts, 2 completions, 1 of them were a screen. That was the stat line for Mac Jones the last time that they won. So I do not see that happening again, to say the least. But moving on to the Sunday slate of games, starting off with a divisional matchup of the Green Bay Packers heading to Chicago to take on the Bears. I have the Bears as my upset in this one, and Callan has the Packers.
It's just like the Jets and the Patriots. Until the Bears can prove that they can beat the Packers, I'm going to keep picking the Packers against the Bears. Aaron Rodgers is the owner of the Bears. He came out and proved that. So I say, you continue to start him this week as long as he's healthy. If he is not healthy, then definitely go to Jordan Love. But if he's healthy enough to play, then let him play. But I believe that the Packers will, again, get this running game going. And Rodgers is always fun. He always enjoys to play the Bears, and it's fun to watch him when he plays the Bears. So I believe that the Packers will have a good game and win this one.
And see, I think the Bears are going to win because I don't think the Packers should play the owner of the Bears. I think Aaron Rodgers is obviously showing some injuries, whether with his finger or last week with his ribs being hurt. And when they threw in Jordan Love, he didn't look that bad. He looked much better than he did any other time he's gotten live reps in the past few seasons. So why not let him go out there and get a start against a really bad defense? Last year, when they let him get his 1 start of the 2021 season, it was against a pretty damn stellar Chiefs defense, and he only put up like 7 points throughout the entire game. So let him go out there, let him get a start against a bad defense that he actually might be able to put up some yards against, and then let Rodgers rest a little bit. But I also think Justin Fields is going to be back for this game. I think he'll come back and he'll play.
That is terrifying.
It's in Chicago. It's a running quarterback against that Packers defense. They just allowed like 150 yards to Jalen Hurts last week.
That is very alarming.
I think that if Justin Fields plays and Jordan Love plays, the Bears have this win. It's in Chicago, and I think they're finally going to get a win against their kind of big brother team in the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers.
It might be beneficial that they just played Jalen Hurts and let him run all over them, because it might be like a focal point in practice this week, so that doesn't happen again. I sure hope that doesn't happen again.
Oh, it's going to happen again. Justin Fields breaking his own record, 180 rushing yards this week.
Oh, God.
Moving on to another NFC North team, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Detroit to take on the Lions in yet another split. I have the Jags in this one. Callan has the Lions as his upset.
Yeah, I think that the Lions are going to play a really good game. They're still at home. They're back at home again, and where they played very well against Buffalo and just came up short against the Bills when they really should have been a blown out situation. But instead, the Lions kept it close, and I liked the fight that they put up. And I believe that the Jaguars are going to come off that very exciting win and be a little, overlook them a little bit. And I think the Lions will get the upset here.
Yeah, I got the Jags in this one because they had a huge game last week, and Trevor Lawrence really started to look like he was coming into his own. But overall, I think true matchup-wise, this might be the best game of the week. We don't have it marked as the game of the week because you got a much better matchup coming here soon. But really just skill-wise and matchup-wise, this is going to be more than an exciting game. I am so excited to watch this one. But I think the Jags are just going to be able to notch out the Lions. I see it being a really close game. But if Trevor Lawrence can play like he did last week and really have that clutch gene in him again, I could very much see some sort of a game-winning drive late against that Lions defense again by Trevor Lawrence and the Jags offense.
He's definitely on a good roll right now.
Next up, finishing out the NFC North, we got another team with the New York Jets heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. And we finally agree again. We both have the Vikings in this one. The Jets are going to be playing Magic Mike White, which is shaking in my boots, terrifying. I don't know if I'm ready to play White Lightning Mike White, but one good thing that we do have going for us is last year, Mike White had his one insane, crazy good game, and then the next week came out and absolutely beyond shit the bed. So hopefully history repeats itself. He comes out again, and the Vikings can just get a true dominating win over the Jets. Have your pack bees out by the fourth quarter type win, which rarely ever happens in the NFL. But if Mike White kind of does the same thing like he did last year, where he had the crazy game and the crazy awful game, I could see something happening like that, because I don't know if the Jets offense is going to keep up with Jets defense rather is going to keep up with the Vikings offense too well.
Yeah, and one thing that I like here for the Vikings is that it's at home in the bank. And that's one major thing, because it is tough to play in that stadium. I have been there live before, and it gets loud and it gets raucous. And it is really difficult to play. It'll be Mike White's first ever trip to the Bank Stadium. So that'll be very difficult for him. And I see the Vikings getting a slim win here, where again, something will break their way and they'll pull out a victory.
That seems to happen a lot this year, which is strange. It's nerve-wracking because it's kind of like one of those things where when it never happens, when you always have bad luck and then you get bad luck, it's like, where's the draw? Where's it coming? It's got to be coming eventually. But hey, maybe it truly is just the Vikings' year. But moving on to that game that we are more than excited for, we have our game of the week matchup with the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson in his first start as a Cleveland Brown heading to Houston to take on the Texans. And we do agree on this one. We both have the Browns, and I have the Browns as my lock for that one sole reason that there is no way in hell Deshaun Watson does all that stuff with the Texans, sits out, gets through all the legal stuff, just to go back to Houston and lose in his first start. There's no way in hell it happens. He is going to go in there. He is going to play the best game maybe of his life and destroy the Texans, and then probably never remake that game again this season, but just come out there and tear it to shreds.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. That's why I got the Browns too. I didn't quite do them as my lock. I had the Baltimore as my lock, but I do agree that the Deshaun Watson's going to go out there and have one hell of a game. It's going to be the revenge game against Houston after everything that they put him through. This is his first start in over 700 days. So this is a first time getting real game live action, and it'll be exciting to see. He was an exciting player before his suspension, and he'll be exciting to watch again.
Yeah. I'm not much of a Deshaun Watson fan or supporter by any means, but there's just no way he loses to the Texans. No way in hell. Next up, we got an out-of-conference matchup with the Miami Dolphins heading to San Francisco to take on the 49ers and a split. Callan has the Niners in this one. I have the Dolphins. And this one was hard to choose because these are probably conference-wise two of the teams I like to not pick the most. But same shit, different day. I refuse to pick Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care what the Niners record is. Now they're actually going against a pretty good team in the Miami Dolphins. So I got the Dolphins, fins up all the way on this one.
Yeah, it'll be an exciting game to watch, that's for sure. I just think that the Niners being at home, it'll be a long trip for the Dolphins to go across country. And the Niners being at home, I don't know if Jimmy G will necessarily have that great of a game, but that 49ers defense has held opponents scoreless in the second half for the last 4 weeks. So that's one stat that I just refuse to give up on. And until they can prove that they can be scored on, I'm going to keep betting on that Niners defense.
Which that will be a really interesting matchup then, because the Miami Dolphins seem to do a large portion of their work in the second half. So we'll see kind of when the immovable object hits the unstoppable force, what happens.
Something's got to give in this one.
Exactly. So next up, we got the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals in yet another split. I have the Bengals in this one. Callan has the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs are looking like one of the best teams in the NFL, and I hate to say it because I know I went through the whole Patrick Mahomes isn't that good of a quarterback thing, but him and Travis Kelce has put together quite the connection that almost is better, I think, than him and Tyreek Hill, because the him and Kelce connection, at least it uses football strategy instead of just chucking it downfield like he did to Tyreek. That's the stuff I didn't like. This is actually making him look like a good quarterback. So I believe that they keep it going, get some revenge on the Bengals, who have beaten them the last 2 times, and I think that the Chiefs get the win here.
Yeah, the meme used to be Patrick Mahomes throwing it and saying Tyreek's down there somewhere. Now it's Joe Burrow throwing it and saying Jamar Chase is down there somewhere.
And I believe Jamar Chase will be back.
I have the Cincinnati Bengals in this one because, yes, I do believe Jamar Chase will be back for this game. He seems to become an absolute different animal whenever he goes against the Chiefs. I want to say both times they faced him, he faced Jamar Chase, he had like 150 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns. So just absolutely insane, and I see history repeating itself here. I think this is going to be a hell of a game. Very easily could be one of the best games of the week. But I got the Bengals in this one, just barely eking it out in a close one on very much the back of Jamar Chase with some help from other guys like T. Higgins and Joe Mixon.
I'm surprised this wasn't flexed to the Sunday night game.
I am too. It's a very good matchup. And then speaking of the Sunday night game, it's not that good of a matchup. We have the Indianapolis Colts heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. And we agree again now. We both have the Cowboys in this one. I really like Jeff Saturday. But seeing how the Colts operated last week on Monday Night Football and dropping a close one to the Steelers the way they did with that not too good clock management, I just don't know how much I can trust him. He's a great motivator coach, to say the least. You gotta have a little more game awareness and be game ready as a head coach. So I see the Cowboys picking up a win in this one.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning experience for the Colts to go through that time management situation. But I do think that though I do think the Cowboys will win this game, I would not be surprised if the Colts were able to run all over them and pull an upset here, because the Colts are a star running team and the Cowboys do not have that great of a running defense. It's proven in their losses that they can be ran on, and so it'll be interesting to see if they're able to run on the Cowboys and if they'll be able to keep up. But I just think that the boys will be too much for the Colts.
I feel like there's no in between in this one. I feel like we're going to see like a 1-point differential or like a 30-point differential because it's an interesting matchup to say the least. But now on to the final game, the Monday Night Football game of the New Orleans Saints heading to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers in yet another split. Callan has the Bucs in this one. I have the Saints. and I am yet again banking on history repeating itself. The Saints have seemed to own the Bucs during the regular season for whatever reason, and why not stop now? The Bucs are very much on the downslope, and the Saints are probably joining them on that downslope the way it's been looking. But when two teams are on a downslope, one of them got to pick up a win. Unless it ends in a tie, I guess. But let's assume that one of them got to pick up a win. I think it's going to be the Saints here. Andy Dalton is hot and cold, to say the least, with that bright orange hair. But I got the Saints in this one.
God, they were shut out last week. I wish they would just play Jameis Winston.
They might as well at this
It'd
point.
be so much more fun to watch them. But I think that Brady breaks the streak here and beats the Saints in the regular season finally. I just believe he's, he doesn't have a whole lot going for him this year. So maybe this is one of those situations where he's able to break that streak and be able to beat the Saints.
Yep, it should be a fun one. And actually, compared to last week especially, overall, this should be a really fun week of NFL football. Lots of exciting matchups to watch. So don't forget to check those out this weekend. And if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like or maybe even think about subscribing. But until next time, don't forget,
The team's on bye.
don't forget the teams on bye this week are the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. Don't forget that. Until next time, don't forget
To eat the W.